Well, ladies and gentlemen, I've got a couple of guys on the Realist News Show I was telling you about, and some of the haters forced my hand, as I discussed on my video on Friday, that I held back this interview that I'm doing right now. It would have been the same the other day, but I decided to hold it back because so many people were hating on me and accusing me of all this crap with these cryptos. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to wait a week or so. Then the storm came through, added another little bit of time on there. So, sure enough, by that time, August, as I showed in my other video, I showed an email exchange between me and the guy with the fantastic beard, known as, his nickname is Labrat online. And he was trying to set this interview up. And we also have with us a guy named Joe Baker, who has been basically into cryptos, Bitcoin, since 2011, I think he told me, and was into Cloak almost immediately. I think did you say that maybe the first week or so?
That was Labrat.
Labrat, okay.
I was about June this year.
Okay. So, just so everybody knows, I had asked originally, normally when I do interviews and stuff, it's somebody on the programming side of things, whether it's someone from their team or the co-founder or founder. However, Sean is very, very close to the head honcho, if you will. And long story short, the guy, he's in Germany, big time difference. When he can get on, I can't get on, that kind of thing. And his English is not real good. So it might have been a little bit of bothersome interview, the English, kind of a thing. So he pretty much gave Sean the authorization to just handle business, because Sean's been there, again, almost since day one, the first week of it. But I will disclose something. When me and Sean were talking, he said, look, I know you're going to be talking about our coin and whatever, but we want to give you some Cloak. We love what you do. We watch your channel every day. But, we know you take time out of your day to do this stuff, and sometimes it's out of the norm of what you plan on doing. We want to give you some Cloak. So this was something he had offered before I even did this video. So just, again, first disclaimer I've ever had to make in a situation like this because I knew about it in advance. So I do want to be clear on that. That does not matter. And here's the good reason why it doesn't matter. Did you see the price of freaking Cloak today at 10 and 11 bucks at one point? Up from $3 and $4 from just a matter of day, a couple weeks ago, whatever it was. So, anyways, guys, I don't know which one you want to start off, but let's go with, I guess, the open source part. Like, where did this news come from? And by the way, everybody, they were, or at least Joe was just on recently with the Bill Still report. He was the guy that did the Money Masters DVD and then the Secret of Oz. I always refer to on my channel. He's got his own channel, of course, the Still report, but he was just featured on there recently. Talking about, again, Cloak. So the head honcho, again, if you will, has given these guys kind of the authorization. You guys have been here for a while, and I trust you. Even though Joe hasn't been here that long, as he said, since June, he's been heavily into it now. So anyways, where do we start with this? You want to talk about maybe the open source, that thing that was just going down, that you just, the news just came out on?
Yeah, I think that's going to be key. I've been an open source enthusiast since, 20 years ago or longer, when I got into Linux and started doing Linux systems administration types of work and working with an ISP and so forth. And I saw how, open source software builds communities. People kind of rally around it. They help each other out. They try to understand the problems and so forth that people are encountering, right? And the coders have a sense of ownership in the code and a kind of a commitment to follow it through and bring it out. So I'm surprised that Cloak has done so well being proprietary code. There's people on both sides of that argument. Some people think you got to be proprietary to have secure stuff, and if you have it all out in the open, then people are going to see the flaws and so forth. But it's, in my opinion, kind of a seasoned kind of security expert and stuff. I'd much rather have the source code open.
I would agree.
To look for that kind of stuff. So so this is a big thing, switching the code over to open source, and they're going to be also rolling in some new features, and they're going to be kind of taking the Enigma mode. Are you familiar with the Enigma mode, Joe? Maybe I should talk about that a little bit.
Go ahead and go into that.
So Enigma is a mode that turns on where it uses a lot of the nodes that are on the network. There are no master nodes on CloakCoin. That's one of the first things we need to get out of the ballpark. It's one of the big differentiators between Cloak and the other privacy coins.
And by the way, as you discussed earlier before we started recording, just so everybody knows, Cloak is not an ERC20, rides on the blockchain of something else. It is its own coin, like Bitcoin, Litecoin. It's its own entity. So just keep that in mind. If you need a wallet, you got to get essentially the CloakCoin wallet to, if you want to keep it in your possession anyways, or otherwise you have to keep it on some of the exchanges. But it is its own entity. I just want to get that out of the way. So go ahead.
Yeah. So it's really important to notice that there's no master nodes, right? You can get CloakCoin, put it in your wallet, be on the network, and you're a big part of the network, and you can, traffic's going to come your way just like it is anybody's. There might be a little bit more preference to those that are up and on there the longest, right? The ones that are on there the longest will probably get the most traffic because they're just more well known to the other nodes. But I think of these master nodes as maybe choke points on the network. If I were to think about it strategically, and if I were trying to get at Bitcoin, right? If I were like a government trying to shut it down or something, I might think about the pools, or if it were like some of these other privacy coins have these master nodes, I would try to identify where they are, and that would be the place to try to attack or whatever, right?
Yep.
So with CloakCoin, there's none of that. All of these nodes are equal, and it could be a Raspberry Pi. It doesn't even have to consume a lot of power. I've seen on the website they've got a Raspberry Pi kind of distribution to
I saw it.
Yeah, and it's exciting to hear it's exciting that people would want to take that kind of initiative and run a blockchain and be a part of a distributed network, because it makes a big difference.
So onto the Enigma thing.
Right. Thanks. The Enigma is a mode that kind of acts like a mixer of sorts, but it's like between a lot of different nodes that are running. And there's right now there's a financial incentive to participate in the Enigma thing. You kind of sign on with your wallet and you type in the passphrase to unlock it so that you're part of the mining process. And Enigma, kind of like if you were to ask your friend to make a payment on your behalf and you'd pay your friend back, or maybe even the funds all get locked into escrow ahead of time, and the payment gets made and the escrow gets released, that kind of thing. But think of it on a much larger scale, and think of it as a lot of smaller pieces being made. The transaction gets broken up into smaller parts, and then it goes deep as well, right? Like you can tell it you only want it to be like 3 layers deep, or maybe 7. I think 5 for sure. And and these kind of transactions are like, I'm pretty sure they're not committed to the blockchain, right, until the end. And by that time, all these kind of interim addresses have been used and consumed and verified with each other and sent through. So it's pretty cool. I mean, I think of it like the what they're talking about, SegWit and Lightning Network.
Well, wasn't there something that you guys were going to be doing with that? Like, so wasn't that I don't know if it was necessarily implemented, but
I put something up about that, and I may have jumped the gun. I read something on the website that talked about bringing in that when it goes open source, it would be bringing in some code base from Litecoin, and they on that document they mentioned SegWit. So I went ahead and ran with that, and I'm like, this is huge. Having a segregated witness locked into a privacy coin is like an extra super layer of anonymity when trying to do these atomic swaps on these decentralized exchanges. So I mean, I'm really excited about that. I hope that it's going to come through. Labrat, have you heard anything about whether segregated witness is going to be rolled into this release?
I know about as much as you know, Joe, about that. There's one thing I wanted to say about the no master nodes is that it's just more fair to everybody instead of just the whales, instead of just the big investors. Every wallet is a node of equal importance. Now, every wallet has more weight depending on how many coins are in it, but every wallet has an equal chance to participate in a transaction, whether it's a normal transaction or an Enigma transaction.
now on the 6% thing, can you tell us how that works? Like,
Can we get to that in a second? I'd like to get back to the.
Okay, yeah.
It's important too to notice that the way that the mining goes is that it's a proof of stake, so yeah, you put coins in the wallet and you make it. But the thing that's unique about Cloak is that it was the first proof of stake anonymous coin, and so that means you can have all those coins out there and get rewards, but you're anonymous in terms of the mining, as I understand it. So it's they make that out to be a big differentiator, and it kind of couples with you've got the Enigma. I'm gonna wrap that up. The other point about Enigma is that all the nodes that participated in that with their coins get a 1.8% reward on that. Now that's the way it is now. They're going to roll out some new code. This 2.1 series. I think they're even going to disable Enigma for a short time, and they're going to run it on testnet so that people can test out some new Enigma features. Something about a multi-party transaction, so that you can have multiple
Parties, yeah.
And that's before it gets brought out into the other people that you're kind of scrambling the transaction with. So I can see why they want to test it and put it on just the test node. I think you'll still be able to run an Enigma on the old code base, but for me, I did it with a few small transactions, maybe about 5 or so, just to test it out and get a feel for it. It seemed to take a little longer with the Enigma, and in some cases there were timeout levels, and if it didn't finish by you could set the timeout, I think, and to 1 minute or 2 minutes or 3 minutes. And some of mine didn't go through because they weren't. I didn't leave enough time, or I wanted it to go too many layers too deep.
Well, some of that can be modified as if it's going open source, a lot of that can be fixed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And every time that happens, you're going to see in my opinion anyways, the price of Cloak, went up again. Oh, they did this, up again. They did this, up again. That's what we see every time with one of these things,
So we haven't gone to that 6%, or what do you got, Lev, Brett?
Well, I was just going to mention that I've heard, I'm pretty sure that I can say that eventually, in its final form, an Enigma transaction will be free. There won't be that 1.8%. I think is going to go away. I think so, and people can send money anonymously for free. And there's another thing. If people are going to keep comparing us to Monero,
Yep, they do.
We have approximately 1/3 the coin supply of Monero. Monero has about 15 million, and Cloak has only around 5 million. But I was in the chat room yesterday, and we were talking about the rich list. You know, a lot of coins have a rich list, and in the top 20 wallets, there's a lot of them that have not had a transaction since 2014, and if you add up all the coins on those wallets, it's about 1 million. So the total supply of Cloak might be, we're just speculating, might be closer to 4 million than 5. So it might be a lot more rare than people even realize.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan. Let me just say up front, I am a big fan of rare coins because they always, at some point or another, they just go way up in value. And that's one of my things when I'm looking at these ICOs. How many coins are you guys producing? Yeah. What does it do? You know, what's the ultimate level of coins you'll finally get to? Is there any cap? Yep. What is it? You know. So when I hear this kind of stuff, you know, it piques my interest.
We might have like here a numismatic anonymous cryptocurrency, or semi-numismatic. I don't know, MS63 maybe.
So
polish it up.
So the 6% thing, is that, are you basically saying like if someone is holding a wallet and as these transactions are happening, you're getting like a fee of like CloakCoin added to your stash?
Yes, and nice little pieces, like 0.005 of a cloak at a time or something.
Well, yeah, it depends how much you have. If you have a lot more, you'll get, you'll get more. It's
sure.
But I've seen it. I've seen it go into my wallet, and it's it's a nice feeling when you finally see it go in there. They need to sit in there and age for about 3 days or something like that before they can start to be eligible, I think, for that.
Actually, I think it's only 3 hours.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah. Try doing that at a bank.
Yeah, I was just at a bank. I'm going. There's an auction tomorrow. I'm looking at there was one generator there that I wasn't sure. It wasn't really listed what it was. I want to get a backup generator now that we dealt with this storm, this hurricane. Yeah. And I'm like, man, I wonder if they want to get lucky and they got one of those army ones down there. Man, this was it. It wasn't really listed. Didn't have a good description. 2007. What is it though? I don't know. And I'm looking at it like, oh my gosh, that's it. It's 22 kilowatt. So I went down to the bank. And I'm thinking, oh great, I'm trying to get like $6,000 out just to think I, have enough to bid on it. And I'm just waiting for them to tell me, can you come back, later or tomorrow, or can you go to another branch? Sometimes you try to get a few grand out, and they're like, you got to go to another branch. I'm like, are you kidding me? But in this case, it was good. I got it, and there was no complaint. So, it'd be nice if it was just cryptos. You go down to the auction, use some cryptos, done. Don't got to go to the bank. Don't got to show my ID. Fill out the withdrawal. No, it's my wallet, it's my stuff. Here, boom. And not only that, if I'm using Cloak, it could be a little bit on the anonymous side. And there is a need for that. We all talk about how great it is of these cryptos, open ledger, which I get it. In corporations, governments, and things, we start using this. Yeah, we need to see that. But that doesn't mean all of us have to have our whole entire lives shown on the blockchain. Certain things we're doing. So, coin like Cloak, can kind of help that stuff. So. There's going to be a need for it. Cliff High, and again, one of his early reports talked about there's going to be an absolute need for these types of coins in the future. He mentioned you guys by name, which is, a good thing.
Spelled it out.
Yeah, which is a good thing when Cliff mentions it.
Out.
But he doesn't pick and choose,
Klingons.
Yeah.
Speaking of spelling it out, Mr. J Snip, BYOB. Which means be your own bank.
Be your own bank.
You are the bank. That's what
I thought it was from a song from a band that stood for "Bring Your Own Bombs." Yeah, I guess that was something else. No, be your own bank.
The thing about that 6% is it's important to stake. Like Labrat Hoax was saying, these top 20 wallets, right, hadn't logged in the last year, so they kind of may have lost their opportunity for some of that interest. You have to stake You have to log in, I think, once a year. Is that right, Labrat?
There's no set time. You can log in once a year and let your wallet sync up, and you will still get that 6%, but you'll get it in bigger chunks.
Mm.
Leave it on for a couple days, and you'll get it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess as it's synchronizing.
Yeah, it's got to sync up, because it's got to catch up.
And then it comes in. Okay.
Yeah, and then it'll start coming in.
So is that like I'm looking at my wallet now, and it shows like Enigma status, unlock for minting. What is unlock for minting?
That means you're staking.
So
You should be
ultimately you want to do that.
Have you had your coins for 3 hours yet?
Yeah, not quite. I don't think.
Okay.
And I haven't sent them over here yet. So I'll end up sending them to this wallet. Right now basically it's on an exchange, but as I always tell people, if you don't hold it, you don't own it. Don't leave your stuff on these exchanges. No matter what it is. When I go to the exchange, I'm making a transaction, I'm doing something, and then I'm off, back in my wallets or whatever. Unfortunately, you can't do this. There's no Cloak wallet thing app or part of the Exodus wallet, which I really like, but it doesn't matter. I'll get the CloakCoin, which I have right now. I've got it open. It already synced. It didn't take long to sync for me. Went out and had dinner with the wife and kids. Came back. It had already been done, and we jumped on Skype. But yeah, I guess once I transfer those things over here, which I think I'll do this weekend, I'll hit unlock for minting and let this baby go. Give me a little 6% transactions going on. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Especially at freaking $10 cloak. $10 cloak, man. Give me as many of those things I can get. I want some more.
I think $10 is going to be cheap.
What's that?
We're going to look back at $10 cloak, and it's going to be like looking back at $10 Ethereum. Yeah,
exactly. $18 in January of Ethereum, and $3-4 freaking Litecoin, same time frame. You're gonna look back at Cloak when everyone, I think, finally realizes, wow, there really is a need for privacy in some of this stuff for certain reasons. Man, Cloak's that deal. Again, nothing's really happening other than, you had a little announcement with this, we're gonna open source all that, but nothing really major, and this thing jumped. And I didn't even do a video on it yet. It's like, usually I'll do a video and then people get excited, and then you'll see the numbers jump sometimes, but they were jumping before I came out here. And that's why I was like, see, you guys made me do this video to call you haters out, and you guys could have been making, 100% profit or more if you just shut your damn mouths and stop yelling at me. I would have already done this video. We would have already had this done with, and we'd all be sitting there saying, hey, what a phenomenal thing we just did with getting into Cloak. Now, isn't it? Everybody pat each other on the back, aggravate me sometimes, but hey, whatever. It comes with the territory sometimes, as your channel grows and things like that. It's something that everyone has to deal with, and I don't care. They'll never stop me. This is the future. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to have more people on. I'm going to do interviews and things like that, but there's no doubt I'm going to be following Cloak very closely, and if there's any dips that take place, like we just saw literally today and yesterday and the day before, I'm going to jump on it. My only problem is, why was Cloak not falling like everything else? I'm saying, look, Cloak is up. Cloak is up when everything's being destroyed right now. What the hell's going on here? But whatever, if I do see a dip, I think that's gonna be one of my top coins now that I've got to watch, like Litecoin and stuff. And I'm real excited about OMG, as you've probably heard. But I'm adding Cloak to that list now because what I just saw was incredible, plain and simple. And it's just much more to come as this thing, goes leaps and bounds from where it's at now. If they go open source, this could be fantastic. My opinion, anyways.
I call it green shoots, when you see a whole page of red and then there's one green.
Yeah.
And then it was Cloak, and it's like, anyway, I got to admit, that felt pretty good.
Yeah, I'm scrolling down, red. What's that green thing? Cloak? No, that must not be looking around. Yes, it is. Cloak, man. $10, holy crap. I was like, that's it. I'm going out to my car to do a video real quick. I'm not going to, I got to let these people know what you missed out on by being such a prick, You missed out on this. So whatever, it is what it is. But is there anything else you guys want to add or talk about?
It was interesting to see, and you mentioned it to me this morning, Labrat, that I think we saw, what did we see, like $12 this morning or something? 11. Here's 11.11 on the spike. It was interesting as I look back at the market caps by on Coin Market Cap. And I look at the sorting by market caps, and I look at today, there was there's a lot of them that took a huge dip, and CloakCoin at the same time they're dipping. We're ramping up. So that's yeah, like you say, it does have some different characteristics to a lot of the other coins, and I think it's because people have a good know that it has a good reputation. I've got a friend, or acquaintance online that I share a lot of views with, and he's holding a lot of Cloak, and he's had it for a long time, and it's something he's not gonna let go of anytime soon. So
yeah, there's 12.41 right there, $12.41 at 15:29 UTC time. That was today. I mean, it's crazy. It's to see, like you said, to see everything in a sea of red, just red, and then bang, there's Cloak, boy. What was happening to Cloak? Like I don't. I don't have an explanation. I don't know. I just saw the volume, and you can look at the volume. It just spiked and kept going, and that was very interesting to me to see that kind of move.
I think at some point we're going to see coins, doubling and tripling in a day. And I'm not saying Cloak's going to do that, but I think we're going to start to see an exodus out of the normal banking system as more people realize, look, they're playing a hardball game because they've got something to hide. The banking establishment. And I got into this stuff because I read The Creature from Jekyll Isle, and
yep.
I wish more people in the cryptocurrency area that was in Silicon Valley had that kind of exposure that I'd had. They were different types of things. Maybe anyway, like Andreas Antonopoulos. I'd always try to encourage him to read that book. And but he's got his own approach and his own motivations through his family's experiences with multiple bank crashes, I guess, in Greece over the years. But this kind of money system that's out there, I like to summarize this lately, and this is how bad it gets, and people. So you go to Bank A to get a loan for a mortgage, and they may or may not have enough deposits on hand to pay for such a loan, but chances are they don't. And at the end of the day, they've got to write this mortgage check to Bank B. So Bank B, at the end of the day, has this check, and they put a demand back against Bank A for payment, and it's not there. So Bank A makes a borrowing arrangement, an interbank loan back to or from Bank B to cover the difference. So really, you're signing for these loans and stuff, and they don't have the money to give you. It's just this stuff is going to, this kind of stuff's going to get out there. I think people are going to, I think they are revolting in adopting cryptocurrency. I think that is one of the big revolutions that's going on.
When there's 10 million people signed up at Coinbase alone, that's all I needed to hear the other day. These are not people that are savvy, maybe you or I, or we've been looking at this stuff for a while and we got into it. We're trying to tell people they don't believe it, whatever. These are people. My sister got in the other day. Of all freaking people, my sister jumped in the other day. Yeah, which is shocking. And I thought, she was giving, should I put this much or that much? And I was like, well, I'm just gonna tell you what I would do. I'd go with the higher amount. It's not too awfully much out of your bank account. I'd do that one. And she said, all right, let me ask my husband. And he's like, yeah, I say go for it. Now I was expecting, a typical person or whatever. Well, let's go. Let's just put a little bit in. I don't want to lose it. Put a little bit. Nope. They'd already been hearing about it. They knew this house that I'm sitting in right now. I'm supposed to sign the paperwork next week. Speaking of getting a loan that they may or may not have the money, but I'm signing the paperwork next week. I would never even have been able to make this happen if it weren't for cryptos. I wouldn't be here right now. I wouldn't be probably doing this interview right now. If I was, I'd be in my other house that we were renting. and I've got this beautiful piece of property, and I'm thinking I never would have thought a regular old guy like me could do this. And here it is, thanks to freaking cryptos, while simultaneously telling the rest of my subscribers, the whole world, anybody who will listen, anybody I come in contact with, from the golf cart guy to the, you know, the dropped it off, whatever, to this guy, that guy, just to find out. And it's funny because I'm starting to hear a lot of people say, oh yeah, I've heard about that. Oh yeah, Bitcoin, yeah. And before you didn't really hear that too much. So there's a lot of people, you know, I talk about 10 million people being on just Coinbase exchange alone. There's a whole bunch more sitting there who already know about it now, but haven't done anything yet. So all those other people who were on that page before, who were sitting, didn't do anything, now they did something. We've got a whole bunch more over here sitting. And we only have all these coins out here right now. So as this new blood, so to speak, comes in, right, they have to get what's already out there. All these ICOs, that one's done. CloakCoin, it's already been out there. Where can I get it? Got to go on the exchange. Where can I get that one? Got to go on the exchange. So those of us sitting here on ground floor, like I keep saying, pioneers, we're the ones that stand to make the most. But at the same time, people getting in now, just wait a little while. Just wait a little while and you'll be in the same position. You know, it's just truly incredible. It's you know, I look at, like you talk about the banking system, it's ancient. Fractional reserve lending, it's ancient. Borrowing money into existence in our own country. Everything technologically went insane from 100, 150 years ago. Except the banking system, it's identical. Same banking system. We can't seem to get anything better. And then all of a sudden we have blockchain technology now. And now Jamie Dimon, one of the big bankers, you know Jamie, coming out bad-mouthing the other day, which helped push the price down. Like I said, I want to personally thank him because he just helped a bunch of my subscribers and myself get a fire sale. Unfortunately, the power of his mouth was not able to get me some cheaper CloakCoin, unfortunately, because CloakCoin was taken off when that was happening. But that's okay.
When Jamie Dimon said that, that's like the Wicked Witch of the West.
Yeah.
Skywriting, surrender Dorothy.
Yeah. That's it. And his little Blythe Masters dog with him. Yep.
Yeah. Somebody should do a cartoon like that. That'd be funny. But this is paradigm-changing stuff. And it's not too late. History is happening. We're in the middle of it. We're still in the early stages of it. Don't be the 101st monkey.
Right. And we're way down here anyways. There's plenty to go. Yeah. So people sit on the sidelines. And here's what I'll say about what just happened with this massive waterfall sell-off. It's recovering nicely as we speak. And I think even for the hardest skeptics, oh, that was it. They're nailed now. China's stepping back. Oh, they're done. When they see it come back, and they see all of us saying, hey, I told you guys to get in when it dropped. I told you. And everybody's going to say, well, we know we did. And then all those naysayers, for the 6th or 7th time now, and this was a bad one down, it recovered and went to make all-time highs. At what point does someone sitting on the sideline say, okay, I did it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times, 8 times. Okay, I've had enough. I got to get in. Most people will see it 2 or 3 times and they're sold. Okay. Or not most people, but some people will, Others have to see it 15 times before they finally realize, okay, this is just absurd, but for whatever reason, I got to get in it. And then they get in it. But even then, I still think there's plenty of room to go.
It used to be the common, suggestion, invest what you can afford to lose. And I don't know, in my life, I just invested everything. I made it in Bitcoin anyway. And I just, when it was $5, I got in and I was investing every little bit that I could. I mean, I had this feeling about Bitcoin that it was going to, it's going to go to $1 million. And I still think it's going to go there. But so I made changes in my lifestyle. And I think people need to do this. They need to find ways, if you have to eat peanut butter and jelly or something, right? To save $1, to invest that dollar in cryptocurrency, it's going to come back. That dollar is going to turn into, it's my experience, 4,000, 4,000 times. Let's see, it wasn't quite that much, but it will be.
Sure.
And it's just having yourself deal with a little bit less than you would in your lifestyle.
You can cut some stuff out. You could absolutely do it. You got a credit card again, and you know, I don't want to have to like tell people like, oh, you got a credit card, use it. Because, you know, you tell them to get into something and then it doesn't do well, then what? Now they got the freaking credit card payment. However, I'm going to relay a first-hand story. Had horrible credit, this guy. $1,200 was the best credit card. He had one credit card to his name, hadn't touched it. High interest rate, of course. $1,200 was all they'd give him. He maxed it out on, I think it was Neo. When it first came out, it was cheap. And it tripled, quadrupled, and he still said, I don't want to, I'm just going to make the payments on the credit card. I'll pay it down, but I don't want to take my profit. He's like, because I want all that maximum money to play with. So he can flip it and do other things. Which I don't blame him. I bought this little, this 2015 Nissan Leaf. I got for like $10,000. 14,000 miles when I got the damn thing. And I'm like, yeah, I got a deal. Well, I'll just pay it off in like 3 or 4 months. That was my goal. And then this was way early this year. And then all of a sudden cryptos happened. Bigly. And I'm like, and my wife's like, oh yeah, you need to pay that off. You need to pay that off. I'm like, Evelyn, I think I'm just going to make a small payment this month. No, you need to make a big payment. Make like $1,000. No. Because I only owed like I only owed 6,000 something at the time. And I'm like, Evelyn, if I put that $1,000 that we were going to put in the car and just make, here's your $200 payment, because it's on my credit card basically. Evelyn, that $1,000 is going to become a lot more. And it did. And then the next month, okay, you're going to pay it off now? Evelyn, no, I'm going to do exactly what I did last month. And it worked again. And I'm still sitting on a car I owe like $5,000, $4,000 something dollars on right now because I'm taking every penny extra that I, safely can grab. Yeah. And I want to put it into cryptos. I can't stop because I've already seen what it's done. And I'm feeling like if I take that money away to put it in this stupid debt thing, to get rid of this debt, which is a good idea, get rid of debt, I'm taking it from this massive profit potential. And I've been right for the last 3 months. So, Evelyn, no, I'm not paying the car off yet. It's not happening. So, anyway, so yeah, just to kind of go with your point, it's just, I would normally not feel comfortable telling everyone just for whatever reason to get in debt, go run up a credit card for whatever reason. No, stay away from that. Get out of debt. Stay out of debt. Unless there's a good cause. And my friends, I hate to say this, cryptos is a good cause to be running up some credit cards. I mean, the proof is in the pudding.
I'll tell you what. I sent a letter to the owner of the company I used to work for, because he owns a bank, I guess, in Mexico. And I said, to the secretary, I'm like, I want to borrow $1 million to buy Bitcoin. And he knows me. He knows I've been in this stuff since 2011. And
what time frame was this, by the way?
This was about 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
That I wanted to borrow the money, and sent this email. And so I think I did go to Wells Fargo back then, and I told them I wanted to borrow money to buy mining machines. Bitcoin mining machines. It's a good thing they didn't, because I barely broke even with those Butterfly Labs.
I know.
When they came up. But it is an interesting thing, and I don't think anyone can. If a bank will lend money to a business, a startup or whatever, they should lend money to people to buy Bitcoin. It's got a fantastic track record.
Phenomenal.
The person who buys Bitcoin has a far better profit potential than any business venture that they could ever hope to invest in.
Yeah, and by the way, I don't have to have employees. I don't really need a building. I'm going to flip this so fast, I'm going to pay your loan back off early. As a matter of fact, no, we can't do that. Why? Because it's, if they were to could do that kind of thing, they'd be out there nailing their coffin shut, because this is the competing thing that's trying to take over what they have, the banking system. So, we don't want to lend to this thing. That's why Jamie, with his 20% drop in trading activity that sucked, was all pissed off on the same phone call about Bitcoin. And then they said, oh, his daughter's got some and she's doing phenomenal. She's so happy with her Bitcoin investment. Jamie Dimon's daughter. Oh, that was beautiful. That gave me about 6 or 7 years of my life when I read that. That was just instant. As he said earlier, manna from the heaven. That was manna from the heavens falling on me. I just gained 6 or 7 years of my life reading that.
Wow.
freaking fantastic.
I'm so happy about Cloak making the decision to move ahead with the open sourcing of this code. I think there's going to be, some gems in there that other cryptocurrencies and distributed exchanges will be able to use. A couple, tips from a playbook type of thing, right? And it's going to help. We need all kinds of minds in this stuff to make this happen. I really love that the Cloak has this kind of almost like a Tor network. It's not Tor, but it's kind of like it. Onion routing and of their transactions and all. So I'm a big fan of Cloak, and I think it's gonna do really well.
Yeah, and I want to say this. I was looking up something earlier online earlier today about Cloak, and I see a Reddit thing. I don't know where it came from, but I was like, oh, let me click there and see what they're saying. This was from 5-6 months ago from the Reddit. I can see by the date. So I'm looking at it, and some guy was upset because in 2013 he rode the Bitcoin thing up, and then he's like, I lost $75,000, and that damn CloakCoin earlier, that's a damn shit coin, and badmouth and all this stuff. I'm thinking, I don't have a Reddit account, but I was so tempted to create an account to go reply to that 5-month-old thread and say, hey, bozo, what were you just saying about CloakCoin? Because 5 months ago, do you know what CloakCoin was worth? Worth is that today? You imbecile. But, hey, people got to learn their own lessons in life, I guess, right?
Well, I think there's kind of a newer team heading up things, and maybe you can speak to some of this, Labrat. But there was way back in the beginning, like 2014 or something, there was a big spike in price and then a big drop. And I think that from what I can feel and sense about the people in the chat room and stuff, there's kind of a good community. And what I see when it goes up, I don't see the kind of huge profit taking that I see on other coins. It's just my perception, right? But it's something that seems to have some staying power, and there's it seems like good people there with an eye toward the future.
Yeah, that was a big pump and dump in 2014, led by the infamous Bob Surplus, if it's okay to say that. And the incentive to hang on to Cloak is you make interest with it. So you might want to hang on to these because you're making interest, and the more you have, the more interest you can make. And anyway, it's just a good deal all around, and people ought to take a look at it. This is not professional advice, but take a look.
He does not offer financial advice.
Yeah. I'm not trying to diagnose, cure, or prevent any disease.
But the side effects include,
Side effects include yachts, motorhomes.
Yeah. Closing down your bank account. No more needing of a loan from a bank. No mortgage paid off. Well,
that's
there's
a
some good
story
side
I've
effects.
got to tell.
Alimony checks. Yeah. So Las Vegas hangovers. Go ahead.
So I got into, I was into Bitcoin hard, and at one point, the IRS tries to seize money out of my bank account. There's only like $200 in there, and so I tell Wells Fargo, well, that was a fraudulent transaction, and they won't refund the money. So, all right, we're just going to close that account and suspend it. So I've been bankless for a long time. I mean, I've got the the BitPay Visa card and some other tools I've used, but it's just been really another kind of world to be. I've lived off of cryptocurrencies for over 2.5 years. I've had to use up a lot of my savings, but wow, it really works. I've been out there in the trenches. The only thing I couldn't do was rent a damn U-Haul truck because that's a prepaid card, and they wanted a credit card, and they've got this unholy alliance with a special kind of insurance with a full-blown credit card. So I'll tell you what, I've done really well on
Well, you said $5 Bitcoin. You had me there. That was it.
Shoot, I had just bought an RV, and I bought an RV, and I was living in the backyard of the place I worked at in Sunnyvale, California, where the rent ended up. The city came and made me stop after a year and a half, but the money I saved, I put into Bitcoin, and then I bought a bigger RV just before I learned about Bitcoin. So I lost that was about $5,000, and it was about all my savings. So, man, what times we live in.
It's an incredible time to be alive.
Absolutely.
Massive opportunities all over the place with these cryptos right now.
Knock, knock.
That's it. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. That's it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. It was a pleasure having you on. Is there anything else you want to add? Or
I'd like to plug my own website,
Yes.
joebitcoin.org, joebitcoin.org. And I've got all kinds of commentary that I do now and then when I get when I get some kind of motivation to talk about this or that. And that's how Labrat found me about talking about CloakCoin one day when I did a Wireshark test of the network packets, to try to analyze if my CloakCoin address was actually showing up in the network or not. And I was pleased to find that it wasn't. And I don't think I was even using Enigma mode at that time. So that's a really, really good. My hat was off to them for all of that.
Cool. All right. Well, until next time, guys. We'll be all. I'm sure all three of us for sure watching Cloak like a hawk to see where it goes next. Because again, what we just witnessed over the last few days is nothing short of incredible. As markets are tanking, this thing's just rising. Like we talk about the phoenix rising from the ashes of the economy magazine, Economist magazine cover from 1988. That was freaking CloakCoin today. So, yep, we'll have to do it again in the future as some new things come out. We'll touch back base again, and when it's time to talk about Cloak, we'll be back again for another interview.
I really appreciate you having us on, Joe.
Yep, anytime, guys. Take care.
Thanks,
All right.
Joe.
You too.
Bye.
Take care.